8 completely different vitamins are hiding under one label on your supplement bottle. Today we're meeting each one individually, because B-complex isn't really one thing at all. Vitamin B12 deficiency alone affects an estimated 6 to 20% of people in some populations, and most don't even know it, since early symptoms are easy to miss. Walk down any pharmacy aisle and you'll see B-complex on dozens of bottles. Yet ask most people what's actually inside, and you'll get a shrug. Here's the truth. The B vitamins are 8 separate, water-soluble nutrients that got grouped together because they were discovered around the same time and work closely together, especially in turning food into usable energy. Scientists originally thought there was just one vitamin B. As research advanced, they kept finding more distinct compounds inside that original mixture. Hence the numbered names you see today, with some numbers skipped entirely. Myth: B-complex is basically one vitamin with a fancy name. Fact: it's 8 vitamins, each with its own job, its own deficiency disease, and in some cases, its own risk of taking too much. Here's your roadmap for today. B1 thiamine, B2 riboflavin, B3 niacin, B5 pantothenic acid, B6 pyridoxine, B7 biotin, B9 folate, and B12 cobalamin. 8 names, 8 jobs, 1 video. By the end of this video, you'll know what each B vitamin actually does, who's at real risk of deficiency, which one has a genuine safety warning attached to it, and how to make smart choices about food and supplements. 8 vitamins, 1 shared history, very different jobs. Let's start with the trio most directly tied to your energy levels. B1, B2, and B3 all feed directly into how your cells convert food into usable energy. Each one acts as a required helper molecule at different steps of that process, which is why deficiency in any of them causes fatigue. Thiamine, B1, is essential for carbohydrate metabolism and nerve function. Severe deficiency causes beriberi, and in people with chronic heavy alcohol use, it can cause VRNIK-KORSA cough syndrome, a serious brain condition. This is a genuinely important clinical fact. Chronic heavy alcohol use is a major risk factor for thiamine deficiency because alcohol interferes with both absorption and storage, which is why hospitals often give thiamine to patients with alcohol use disorder. Riboflavin, B2, keeps your cell's energy-producing machinery running and acts as an antioxidant. Classic deficiency signs include cracked corners of the mouth, a swollen or sore tongue, and a sore throat. Riboflavin deficiency has a recognizable pattern: cracks at the corners of the mouth, a magenta or swollen tongue, a sore throat, and sometimes a scaly skin rash around the nose and mouth. Niacin, B3, has one of the most dramatic deficiency stories in nutrition history. Pellagra, once widespread in communities relying heavily on untreated corn, was traced to niacin deficiency in the early 20th century by physician Joseph Goldberger. Untreated pellagra was remembered by its classic 3 Ds, with a grim fourth if left untreated: dermatitis, a rough, sun-exposed skin rash, diarrhea, dementia, and eventually death. Quick daily reference for adults: roughly 1.1 to 1.2 milligrams of thiamine, 1.1 to 1.3 milligrams of riboflavin, and 14 to 16 milligrams of niacin, all easily met by a varied, balanced diet. 3 vitamins down, 5 to go. Next up, 2 B vitamins with genuinely different personalities, one almost impossible to run low on, and one that comes with a real caution. B1, B2, and B3 are your cellular energy crew. Deficiency in any of them shows up as real, measurable fatigue and specific physical signs, not just vague tiredness. Pantothenic acid, B5, has a name that literally means from everywhere in Greek, and that's not an exaggeration. It's found in nearly every food, which is exactly why deficiency is almost never seen naturally. B5's essential job is building coenzyme A molecule your cells need constantly to break down fats, carbohydrates, and proteins for energy, and to build hormones and cholesterol. B6, pyridoxine, plays a much busier role. It's essential for building neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, metabolizing amino acids, and making hemoglobin, the oxygen-carrying protein in your red blood cells. Here's the genuine exception to water-soluble means you can't overdose. Long-term high-dose B6 supplementation, well above the recommended amount, can cause peripheral neuropathy, numbness, and tingling. usually in the hands and feet. The safe range matters here. Typical adult needs sit around 1.3 to 1.7 milligrams daily, while documented nerve damage has occurred with long-term doses in the hundreds of milligrams, well beyond what a balanced diet would ever provide. A 52-year-old woman taking a high-dose B6 supplement for over a year for unrelated reasons develops tingling and numbness in both feet. Her doctor stops the supplement, and her symptoms gradually improve over the following months. Side by side, B5 and B6 couldn't be more different in risk profile. B5 deficiency and toxicity are both essentially non-issues, while B6 has a real, well-documented upper limit worth respecting. Not every B vitamin plays by the same safety rules. B6 is genuine proof that water-soluble doesn't automatically mean impossible to overdose. Biotin has become one of the best-selling single vitamins on the market, driven almost entirely by hair, skin, and nail supplement marketing, far outpacing sales of the other, arguably more clinically important B vitamins. Myth: taking extra biotin will noticeably improve your hair, skin, or nails. Fact: unless you're one of the rare people who is actually biotin deficient, solid evidence for a benefit in healthy people is thin at best. The research is honest about this gap. Biotin is genuinely essential for fatty acid metabolism and gene regulation, but clinical trials in people without a diagnosed deficiency have not consistently shown a meaningful cosmetic benefit. Here's a genuinely important safety issue that has nothing to do with hair. High-dose biotin supplements can interfere with common lab tests, including thyroid function tests, hormone tests, and cardiac troponin, sometimes producing dangerously misleading results. The FDA has flagged this specifically because many hair, skin, and nail supplements contain biotin doses up to 650 times the recommended daily amount, far more than most people realize. In one documented case, a patient taking high-dose biotin had falsely low troponin results, the exact test used to diagnose a heart attack, highlighting just how serious this interference can be if it goes unrecognized. The fix is simple. Always tell your doctor and the lab if you're taking a biotin supplement before any blood test, and consider pausing it for a few days beforehand if your doctor advises it, especially before urgent testing. Put in perspective, your actual daily biotin need is tiny, roughly 30 micrograms, while many popular supplements deliver 5,000 to 10,000 micrograms or more in a single dose, a genuinely enormous multiple of what your body requires. Biotin isn't dangerous in the way excess B6 can be, but it comes with its own real, practical warning, one worth remembering the next time you're heading in for blood work. Folate, B9, is fundamental to building new DNA and dividing cells, which is exactly why it becomes critically important during pregnancy, when a developing baby's cells are dividing at an extraordinary rate. Quick pause. If this breakdown is helping you, take a second to hit like and subscribe. It genuinely takes a lot of effort to make videos like this, and your support keeps them coming. The neural tube, the structure that becomes the baby's brain and spinal cord, closes within the first month of pregnancy, often before many people even know they're pregnant, which is exactly why folate needs to be on board early. This timing is exactly why health authorities recommend folic acid supplementation for anyone who could become pregnant, not just those already pregnant. Starting before conception offers the strongest protection against neural tube defects. Quick clarification worth knowing. Folate is the natural form found in leafy greens and legumes, while folic acid is the synthetic form used in supplements and fortified foods. Your body converts both into the same active form. B12, cobalamin, plays a starring role in red blood cell formation and nerve health. Deficiency causes red blood cells to grow abnormally large, called megaloblastic anemia, alongside potentially serious nerve symptoms. B12 absorption is uniquely complicated. It requires a protein called intrinsic factor, made in your stomach, to escort it into your bloodstream. Without enough intrinsic factor, as in an autoimmune condition called pernicious anemia, B12 simply can't be absorbed, no matter how much you eat. Who's genuinely at risk for B12 deficiency? Vegans and strict vegetarians, since B12 is found almost exclusively in animal products. Older adults, due to reduced stomach acid, people with pernicious anemia, and long-term users of certain medications. B12 deficiency risk deserves its own deeper look. We'll cover exactly who else needs to pay attention coming up in the next section. B12 deficiency symptoms overlap with a lot of other conditions, which is exactly why it's easy to miss. Fatigue, numbness or tingling in the hands and feet, memory problems, mood changes, and in advanced cases, difficulty walking. Folate and B12 are arguably the two B vitamins with the highest real-world stakes. One for early pregnancy, one for long-term nerve and blood health. Both are absolutely worth understanding your own risk for. Zooming out across all 8 B vitamins, the major risk groups repeat: plant-based eaters, older adults, people with digestive conditions affecting absorption, pregnant people, heavy alcohol users, and people on certain long-term medications. Comparing relative deficiency risk across groups, older adults and strict vegans or vegetarians tend to show up as the highest risk populations across multiple studies, particularly for B12. Certain medications quietly deplete specific B vitamins over time. Metformin, widely used for diabetes, can lower B12. Long-term acid-reducing medications reduce B12 absorption, and some anti-seizure medications interfere with folate. A simple guide: mild fatigue alone usually just warrants mentioning at your next routine visit. Fatigue plus numbness, tingling, or memory changes deserves a prompt doctor visit. And sudden, severe neurological symptoms need urgent evaluation. Across the B vitamins broadly, watch for this overlapping cluster: persistent fatigue, brain fog, mood changes, numbness or tingling, and in more advanced deficiency, visible skin, mouth, or tongue changes. If you fall into 2 or more of the risk categories we've covered, say, older age plus a plant-based diet, your overall risk of running low on at least one B vitamin climbs meaningfully. Blood testing can directly check B12 and folate levels, and your doctor may also check related markers like homocysteine or methylmalonic acid, which can rise even before B12 itself looks obviously low. A 29-year-old who has followed a strict vegan diet for 5 years asks whether they need to supplement B12. What's the right guidance? Risk factors overlap and stack. Knowing your own combination is the single most useful thing you can take from this chapter. Good news: B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, and folate are all reasonably widespread across whole grains, legumes, leafy greens, meat, eggs, and dairy. B12 is the outlier, found almost exclusively in animal products. B12 specifically. Animal products like meat, fish, eggs, and dairy provide it naturally. Fortified plant milks, cereals, and nutritional yeast provide it for vegans, and plain plant foods, without fortification, provide essentially none. For most people eating a varied omnivorous diet, food alone typically covers the large majority of B vitamin needs. Supplements fill in the smaller remaining gap, mainly for specific risk groups. Worth debunking directly. Taking a B complex supplement will not give a non-deficient person an instant energy boost. That marketing claim outpaces the science. What it can do is correct an actual gap, which does genuinely restore normal energy. Think in layers: a varied diet as your foundation, fortified foods as a helpful backup, especially for B12 if you're plant-based, and targeted supplements, or even B12 injections when diet and fortification genuinely aren't enough. Deciding whether to supplement. Do you fall into a known risk group, like vegan, pregnant, or older? If yes, supplementation or fortified foods are generally worthwhile. If not, and you eat a varied diet, a standalone B complex is usually unnecessary. One number worth remembering: your body has essentially no long-term storage for most B vitamins except B12, which is why, aside from B12, running short can happen within just weeks of poor intake. We've covered the full picture now. Let's bring everything together with a fast, memorable recap. Food first, fortified foods for gaps, targeted supplements for real risk. That's the entire strategy, without needing to overthink it. One final breakdown. Across confirmed B vitamin deficiencies, B12 and folate account for the clear majority of clinically significant cases seen in practice, with the others being comparatively rare in people eating varied diets. One final side-by-side worth locking in. Most B vitamins carry low deficiency risk and low overdose risk for the average person, but B12 stands out for deficiency risk, and B6 stands out as the one with genuine overdose risk. Rapid recap. How many distinct B vitamins are there? 8. Which one requires a special stomach protein for absorption? B12, via intrinsic factor. Which B vitamin has a genuine overdose warning? B6, with long-term high doses. And which vitamin should you always mention before a blood test? Biotin, B7, due to lab test interference. One last question. A strict vegan with no other health conditions asks which single B vitamin they should be most careful about. What's the answer? Your takeaway checklist. Eat a varied diet as your foundation. Know your personal risk factors. Tell your doctor about any biotin supplement before blood work, and never assume more is automatically better, especially with B6. For final action steps, identify if you're in a risk group. Consider a blood test if you have unexplained fatigue or nerve symptoms. Choose fortified foods if you're plant-based, and talk to your doctor before starting any high-dose single B vitamin. One memory tool, EIGHD. 8 distinct vitamins, not one. Intrinsic factor needed for B12. Getting enough usually just means eating well. High-dose B6 carries real risk. Tell your lab about biotin. 8 vitamins, 8 distinct stories, and now, a whole lot less confusion about what's actually inside that bottle on your shelf. Here are the key references and sources for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If this helped, like the video and subscribe for more clear, simple explainers, and I'll see you in the next one.